So I pretty much guarantee that this video is going to be completely different than any other trading video you've ever watched in the past. And that's because I'm about to get into some extremely deep concepts that have a massive impact on your trading, and you're probably not even aware of it. The stuff I'm about to talk about in this video is going on under the surface and under the radar of your conscious awareness. So you're not even aware that this is affecting you and making your trading in your life much more difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. And most of you are holding on to these blocks inside that are preventing you from finding success, and they're also making your life a lot more difficult. So in my opinion, to be a successful trader, you need to have mastery over yourself, but you also need to be balanced inside. So the more peaceful and calm you feel inside, and the more centered you feel as a human being, the better trader you're going to be. Because being a trader is a game of making good decisions at the right times. The more clear your head is and the less stress you feel, the better you are going to perform. And trading is simply a performance-based game. So anything you can do to increase the level of the decisions you're making and therefore increase your performance is extremely important. Alright, so let's get into the main point of this video. And that is understanding your inner reality. So what I'm talking about is emotional suppression. And what I mean by emotional suppression is, I'm sure throughout your entire life you've had painful feelings. So you might have feelings of shame, guilt, fear, anger, etc. The feelings you're experiencing are not pleasant. So the natural human tendency, when something is painful, when something isn't pleasant, is to avoid it, to push it away. So in the human body, if you have an emotion like shame or guilt, or any kind of painful feeling that arises, your natural instinct is to try to escape from it or push it away, push it down. And this is known as emotional suppression. So instead of dealing with the feelings and dealing with this internal pain, you try to run from it, you try to distract from it, you try to escape from it, or you try to push it down and pretend like it's not there. The problem is, this does not actually heal the emotion. It does not actually deal with the root cause of the emotion. So if you've been suppressing emotions, escaping from emotions, and distracting yourself with other worldly things to try to avoid from feeling painful feelings, then they actually stay trapped in the body. And the reason this is extremely important is because your internal state can become a huge mess. It can become very messy inside. And the more suppressed feelings that you have, the more it triggers a racing mind, racing thoughts. The less at peace you feel, the more stressed you feel, the more chaotic your life becomes. And like I said earlier, trading is a performance-based game. The more fine-tuned you can get your internal state, the more centered you can become as a human being, the better you're going to perform in the charts, the better you're going to perform in life, in relationships, in anything that you do. So to remove stress from your life and find a more balanced state of being, where you're more centered, you need to start to heal these emotions. And this is very hard to hear, but to heal them, you need to allow them to come up and be felt. So you need to put your awareness on the actual painful feeling itself. And instead of trying to run from the feeling and escape from it, you allow it in like a friend. You welcome it. And this is probably completely different from everything you've ever been doing in your life, where you've just been pushing it away. But when you allow the feeling to come up and be fully felt, that's what processes that emotion. And over your entire life, you've basically been building up garbage inside of yourself. And everybody focuses on the external world, like keeping your house clean, having a good career, having good relationships. But very few people focus on keeping their internal space clean. And by you suppressing your emotions, escaping from them, distracting from them, and never dealing with them, what you're really doing is it's like letting garbage just build up in your kitchen for months on end and never cleaning your kitchen. So this is what you're doing internally. You're just letting garbage, painful emotions build up and build up and build up over time until there's some kind of crisis in your life, or it could just be a silent suffering. So I think part of the reason I found success relatively fast in trading is because I was already doing this work for years before I even started trading. It only took me about 2.5 years to go from completely unprofitable, just beginning, to now being able to pull over 10K out a month. And it's because I was doing this internal work long before I even ever got into the charts. And this internal work is just recognizing that in my own case, I had been running from my feelings, running from my emotions, distracting from them, and pushing them away for my entire life. Because I thought that that's how you got rid of them, that's how you dealt with them. And this is especially hard for men to understand because they're told not to feel, don't show your emotions, stay tough, etc. And so this is a little uncomfortable to talk about even with other people. And it's not a romantic thing to hear that you need to feel painful feelings because you've actually been trying to avoid your painful feelings for your entire life. But until you let these emotions come up and be processed, they remain in the body and they run your life experience. So everything you do is influenced by this emotional pain that you've stored. The way you see yourself, your thoughts, your beliefs, your entire life experience is in some way being blocked by the painful emotions that you've stored. And until you start to process them, they'll just continue to stay down there and run the show. And depending on the severity of your emotional suppression, it's going to be even harder to let them all come up and heal them over a long period of time. Because this isn't something that can be done in a week or two. This is something that's done over a long period of time, especially if you've been suppressing emotions for your entire life, where you let them come up over a long period of time, and there's actually release phases where, because you're opening the gates and allowing the feelings to come up, you're going to get flooded with painful feelings. Not fun to hear. However, the alternative is just to keep them buried for the rest of your life and never deal with them, which is forever going to affect your happiness and your life. And in this case, it deeply affects your trading. And I'm sure it makes sense to you that if you don't have this clean emotional space inside, if you don't have a clean internal state, then of course it's going to influence your decision making. Because at the end of the day, you are the instrument, you are the edge in the market. Every decision you make comes from you. And you can learn the best strategy in the entire world, but if you still have all these internal problems, which are suppressed emotional trauma and negative beliefs about yourself, negative thought patterns, negative self-identity, and on top of all that, if you don't understand that you are not any of this, if you don't understand that you are actually the awareness that observes all these things so that you can become conscious of all this stuff and begin to start to deal with it, then of course your internal state is going to be a mess, your trading is going to be a mess. I also find that suppressing your emotions like this and letting them build up over a long period of time is going to lead to impulsive decisions. Because if you are at pain inside, then you go to the external world and you look for distractions, and that could be addictions. In this case, trading can be very close to a gambling addiction. So you could be using trading as an escape to avoid painful feelings. And in that case, you're not even trading as a professional. You're not trading seriously as a career. You're trading as an addiction to try to mask the pain that you feel inside. And if you are in trading for those reasons, then it's actually going to destroy your life. It's just going to cause more pain in your life. And really, what you want trading to do is support your lifestyle, to make income, to have time freedom, location freedom, etc. So it's extremely important to start working on yourself internally and understand why it's so important for success in anything in life, and especially trading. Because if you have bad behavior in the market, impulses, not accepting losses, having all these thoughts about why you're not worthy to find success, and all these painful emotions that are making you stressed out, not calm, not centered, having lots of racing thoughts, then it's just a mess. So the internal work you need to do is beginning to allow these feelings to come up and completely process them. And that means sitting with the feeling of pain and fully allowing it to be there, not trying to distract from it, not trying to run from it, and not trying to push it away. And what helps in all this is to grow in awareness that you are not the mind, you are not the thoughts, and you are not these emotions. You are the awareness that observes all these things, and you're just allowing it to happen within your space of awareness without trying to suppress what is in that moment. And by doing this, you actually start to process these things, and you start to gain insight into your own internal space. And this is how you gain self-mastery. You don't gain self-mastery by doing external things. You gain it by going inwards and seeing, what does my internal space look like? What kinds of thoughts do I have? What kinds of beliefs do I hold? What types of thinking patterns are holding me back? And also, what is my state of being? In other words, how do I feel in this moment? Do I feel stressed? Do I feel tense? Do I feel emotional? Do I feel sad? Do I feel angry? You want to have this very in touch feeling with yourself, where you are tuned in to your emotions, to your thoughts. And by practicing this, you become a centered person where you're not completely pulled around by your thoughts and emotions, pulling you every which way, but you just become this centered observer that has balance in his life or her and is able to just watch these things come and go and process the emotions as they arise without going into this internal chaos. So, in my opinion, a lot of trading is really an inner journey. And the sooner you decide that you're going to take this leap and start to really internally work on yourself on a daily basis and commit to this fully, which includes meditating every day, being constantly aware of what's going on in your mind and your body, and beginning to actually let these feelings come up and process them, then you're not really going to find that self-mastery over yourself that is required to be an extremely successful trader.